the group was out in the 70s and the 80s, and they were priests. And I just, I don't know, Rose and I, my wife there, were trying to look up where they are now, and they were doing a concert at Notre Dame. But they're old guys like we are, so it's kind of tough to say. I don't think they do too much traveling, But, so tonight, after I put all the wind out of me from the last couple, I'm going to try to maybe go over some stuff and then open it up for questions. And that's why I got Father here. See, he's good. He knows all the questions. I don't know nothing. I'm just anyway. I was ordained in 1981 by Bishop George Guilfoyle in Camden, and my first assignment was St. Lawrence Parish in Lindenwold, and now that parish is Our Lady of Guadalupe. In fact, it now is the shrine in the Camden Diocese of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it's still St. Lawrence, but what they did is we had in Camden we had 121 parishes, and they knocked it down to 60. So like our parish, St. Teresa's, where I was when they did this, and Maria Goretti, which she's right here. Maria Goretti is right here. She followed me from New Jersey. Those two were put together, and the name of the parish is Holy Child. Is that right, bro? Yeah, as long as you shake your head, yes, I know I'm in good shape. And so I was there for 30 years at St. Teresa's and Maria Goretti. I was at St. Lawrence for maybe about 5 years, I don't know, something like that. And that's the parish that I was confirmed in, and I did my first Holy Communion at St. Lawrence. I was baptized in Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Berlin. Then we moved to Clementon, and then I was in St. Lawrence's Parish, and I grew up in St. Lawrence's Parish. So it wasn't too much going on in my life, except to say that I had Dominican nuns who didn't love me too much. I used to come home and I'd have either some little red welts on my hands, because I would go to CCD. I would go down. I lived on California Avenue in Clementon, and I would go down, walk down, catch the bus, go to St. Lawrence. I'd be there for an hour and a half with the Dominican sisters, and they had like 80 people and kids in their class. So if you said something, they were on you like, And I would get hit, and you didn't want to go home and say, "The sister hit me, Dad," because then Dad would hit you too. So it was, you just put up with it, But then had confirmation with Monsignor. I still remember these guys, Monsignor Winowitz, and a bishop at the time was Bishop Damiano, and he was a funny dude. He was, I don't know if I should tell you this. I'll probably get in trouble for saying it. But people would be coming out of church, and the ladies would go up to him and say, "Bishop, could we kiss your ring?" And he didn't have his ring on. And he says, "Yes, you can kiss my ring. It's in my back pocket." And Bishop Damiano, he was some. And then Bishop Guilfoyle, of course, was the guy that ordained me. And I was telling the people today, you remember the story, don't you, about him? He was not a very happy-go-lucky guy. And he ordained us, and we were coming out of the church there, and I said, "Does that man ever smile?" And I hear, "Yes, I smile once in a while." And I turned around, and there was Bishop Guilfoyle. I said, "Here's another strike against me." I thought for sure I was going to get moved to some parish 10 miles away or something, but no, he was all right. And then after Bishop Guilfoyle, there was Bishop DiMarzio, who Father knows from New York. And then we had another bishop, another Italian guy, I can't remember his name, and now Bishop Sullivan's up there, and he's 78 now. He just turned 78. His birthday was the other day. But I'm still in the Camden Diocese, so, I'm not incarnated into this diocese, so I'm on loan to this. Of course, they're not going to call me up and say, "You got to come home." So, but yeah, I'm on loan here. I mean, Father Tom did say I could try to get incarnated because he said it's not that hard of a thing to do, but I want to get the books from the bishop up north there. He sends me a Christmas gift, always a book. So I said, why should I give that up? I mean, he's sending me something. I don't get much, because we're not supposed to take any money or anything like that, and we're just for service. And that's on the second Sunday of Lent. In the gospel, it says that Jesus did not come to be served, but to serve. So, yes, that's what the deacons are here for. And St. Lawrence, who was a deacon, he was grilled on a grate. I mean, I think you all know that. And because he showed the Romans the riches of the church, which were the people. St. Stephen, I don't know too much about him. And St. Francis de Sales, St. Francis of Assisi, we were always ordained on the 4th of October, St. Francis of Assisi's feast day, because he was a deacon, so we were ordained that day. The only reason I was ordained on the 5th was because St. Francis' feast day fell on Sunday, so Sunday superseded that, and the bishop ordained me on Monday, the 5th of October, and in 1981. I was supposed to be ordained in 1980, but because I was 33, and Jesus was 33, but because I was 33, I was too young to be ordained. So I had to wait till the following year to be dispensed by Bishop Guilfoyle, which he did. Because if I was waiting for a letter from Pope John Paul, and it never came. Because they had me there that night. Remember, Rose? I had my alb and I had everything sitting on the chair, because if the letter came there, Monsignor Veloso was going to bring the letter out, and I was going to get up and put my stuff on, and but it never came. And the bishop stopped, and he was real nice. He shook my hand and says, "We'll get you next year," So, but the patience, patience. And I was telling the people about that, because there's not much more I can say. But patience, I had to have patience. I went on a retreat the weekend before ordination, and I was out in the woods reading a book on patience that a priest had given me, and I was going through the stations, all the stations. They had stations out in the woods. You could walk around. It was all the stations. It was a beautiful place. I don't know why we sold it. But anyway, I was out there, and I said that I got to one point, and I said, Lord, I think you'd just like to whip me with a stick. Branch come down right in front of me. So, that was my sort of sign that he would like to beat me with a stick if I don't come around and do, what he wants me to do, which was serve his people, which I did. I tried anyway. So I was at St. Teresa's, and Monsignor Boyle was my first pastor there, and he was a jovial guy. He's sort of like you, Father. It was real nice and very easygoing. And we had another priest there, Father Marucci, who was a musician. So he never wanted to do Mass. When Monsignor was on, Monsignor would always have me on to help him, because Monsignor Marucci was taking care of the music. And he was a wonderful musician. In fact, he left the priesthood, and he's in New York now, doing something up there with music, you know. He might be even in the sympathy, or whatever you call it. So, and his brother, Father Lewis, he has multiple sclerosis, but he's in a wheelchair. But he's at St. Andrew's Parish in Gibbsborough, and he's in a wheelchair. But he still gets up there every Sunday and does his thing. He was at St. Vincent Pallotti, but the bishop didn't like him. So now he must have did over $1 million in work getting that all set up for handicap. And the day that it was done, he was transferred to St. Vincent Pallotti. So a little political stuff in there, you know. But anyway, he didn't complain. Well, he might have complained. I don't know. I wasn't around him when he might have said some things, you know. But he went to St. Andrews, and he's doing great there now, and he has a big following there. So, and that was, you know. Then let's see. I'm trying to think of some priests that I know. Monsignor Pacusa. Now there was a fine young. Not young, he was an older guy, and he loved his rosary, and he would go around in the school yard praying the rosary every morning. He'd just walk around praying the rosary, and you know, it really made the kids see that, hey, look at Monsignor, he's out there praying, and you know. So he was really good. He helped me a lot, because I didn't really want to preach, you know. And Monsignor said to me, look, you get up on the altar, you do what you want. You don't want to preach, don't worry about preaching. You don't want to say the prayers to the faithful, you don't have to do that. Just sit there in that chair, but just come on up on the altar. So like every week I would get a little further and a little further until finally I was preaching. And, you know, and Monsignor, right there with me, you know, he was really good. And he passed away now, too. I don't know if he had cancer or what, because we were down here when he passed away. But he was a nice guy. He lost a lot of weight. I think he had cancer is what he had. But I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I know. I know Father Peter, but, you know. No, he's a good guy. I like Father Peter. One of these days, Rose will have him over for spaghetti and meatballs. So, is there any questions so far about? Yeah, go ahead.
What was your calling as far as getting into the acting? Why did you do it? It's usually...
Well, when I was younger, my father, I went to him and said, I want to be a priest. And my father says, you can't, because you're the only boy to carry on the name. Italian is very, you know, you have to carry on the name. So, you know, I sort of forgot about it then, you know, until later on in life. And Rose and I, we tried to have children for 10 years. We could not have children, so we wound up adopting Matthew, who was the boy. And then as soon as we got Matthew, Mommy got pregnant. And the reason for that and my mother, God rest her, she used to tell Rose, if you quit work, you'll have a baby. If you quit work. Well, when we got Matthew, she had to quit work, because in the Camden Diocese, Mommy had to stay home. And sure enough, And we took her to the doctor because she thought she was having, nerves and, stuff like that. And we went to this one doctor, Bernardi, and he was going to put her on some kind of drug that was not good for if you were pregnant. So I said, look, I got my doctor who's 80 years old in Berlin. You don't have to make an appointment. You go there, pay him $35, he takes care of you. So we went there, and Dr. Santor, wonderful doctor, he said, you know what? I'm taking a blood test. I just, something tells me that you're pregnant. But anyway, and Rose was saying, no, it can't be because 10 years, you didn't go pregnant. So he took the blood test, and we didn't give her no medicine. I don't think he gave you medicine. And we went home, and I guess in 2 or 3 days, he called and said, surprise, you're pregnant. And there she was pregnant. So now we had the little guy, and then we're going to have another baby too. And Matthew, of course, he passed away when he was 30. But he was, I don't want to say he was a bugger, but he was a bugger. Yeah. He was too much. I won't tell you all the stuff because if I told you what he did, is this thing on television? I won't tell you. They might send the FBI here to give me your stuff. No, I won't tell you everything. But he did his little things, I was telling them about Matt. He wanted to be a priest too. Now, he wanted to be a priest. But Matt was gay. So, and not that would stop him from being a priest because he didn't practice, being gay. He just was gay. That's just what he was, So, and he had a learning disability, which was tough. And I always said, I don't know why they don't accept him because it's not all up here. Most of what you have is down here in your heart. And Matt had that in his heart. I think if he would have did that, I don't think he would have probably got sick and went crazy, like he did. But no, he wanted to be a priest, all his life he wanted to be that. Like this, I worked on the turnpike. Now, I was down at Exit 3. We were living in Runnymede at the time, which was right off there. And I used to come home because I worked midnights. I worked midnights so that I could be there for the kids at dinner, be there, then I would leave and go. Then I would be home for them when they were going to school, and then home again for dinner. So I would come home like around 3 o'clock in the morning. And I would go up, because that's when my break was, 3. And I would see my daughter, and she looked good there. She was sleeping real nice. I go into my son's room, and nothing. Window open, gone. And I said, because I woke her up. I said, your son's not in his bedroom. What happened to him? So we started going out the front door, and he's coming up on his bicycle, and he's dressed like a priest. And I said, what are you doing? You could have got arrested. He said, they don't arrest priests. That's why, see this hair, how gray it is? You see that? It was gray like that then, too. But he was a pickle. And he used to drive the Monsignor's car without even having a license. Monsignor asked him to take his car around to the school for the car wash. And next thing we know, we got a call from some lady down the street, says, your son just went by in a car? Monsignor's car. But that's just the way he was. And he didn't think nothing of it, see, because his brain, the way he was fired up, that kind of stuff didn't mean anything to him, But then when he went out to Washington State with his friends for a while, he got in with a bad bunch, and somebody gave him a shot or something, and next thing you know, he had AIDS, and they told him he had AIDS, and they wanted him to take the medicine, and he didn't take the medicine, and by the time he wanted to take the medicine, it was too late. So we sat up there with him the last week of his life, And I was sort of sitting there praying that he would go because he could hardly breathe, you know. And they had like a respirator down and out. The doctor says, "Oh, this respirator, he'll be out. Like, he won't know nothing." We walked in a room, he put his hands up like this. "Hi." And then, of course, he signed a paper that said, you know, if his heart stops, he didn't want to be, you know. So when they were taking the respirator out to put another one in, his heart just stopped. And the doctor just walked away from him. So, but he had a good life. He went to Paris. He was over there with Pope John Paul. And then he went to North Jersey with John Paul again. And he went to Fatima. Was that Fatima or Lourdes? Lourdes. He went to Lourdes. I mean, he did a lot. He went at 16. He was over in Paris because he went with the youth group, and they made money. I don't think we paid for it, did we? I don't remember if we paid or they made money through. Yeah, you know. So. Yeah. So. He lived a life that, I mean, he saw a lot of things that I have never seen. The only place I went was to Korea. And, you know, we left Florida because Florida, I was in Tactical Air Command. And President Johnson called us up. So I called home. I said, "Mom, we're going to Korea." And she couldn't believe it. And I couldn't believe it. So I wasn't even dressed for the weather, and we flew out of Homestead Air Force Base, and we landed in Elbendorf, Alaska. And I only have a field jacket on. I got off the plane, I said, "Oh, my Lord." It was cold. And then we were back on the plane after a while, and we landed in Yokota, Japan. And Japan was, it was raining there, and it wasn't as bad. But then when we got into Kunsan, Korea, they were having a blizzard. Yeah, and it was cold. And thank God we had some Quonset huts we could get into. And we never had to use a refrigerator. We just put our beer on the ledge at the windows there, kept it nice and cold. No, that was it. Any other questions you might have about my wonderful life? 4. I left as sergeant, not a staff, just a 3 stripes. Yeah, 3-striper. Yeah, I didn't want to stay. They wanted me to go to Bitburg, Germany, to re-enlist, but I said, you know what? I've been lucky so far, and if I go to Bitburg, they're liable to send me to Vietnam because that's the next jump. So I said, you know what? I'm getting out while I'm lucky. Not that God. You know, God protected me all that whole time. He kept me. I was in Miami for Miami Beach, well, that area there, for 3.5 years. Yeah, I didn't go anywhere. All my buddies were going to Vietnam. Who was going here? Me, I was still there. You know. But then, of course, when we went to Korea, and then the thing of it was there was only 2 welders in our squadron. So when we got to Kunsan, they took the 1 welder and they sent him up to Gwangju, another area, and they left me there, and I was restricted to the base. So I was going to a movie every night. I had to go even if it was the same movie, I was just going to the movies just to do something. And then I would go get a haircut, you know, because at least I could get a haircut, and the girls were pretty, you know. No, not yet. No. So I went up to and I said to the Korean guy, I said, "Hey, you know, there's a pretty girl in that barbershop." I says, "I bet could you tell me how to say I love you?" He said, sure, I tell you. And he told me, and I won't mention the word. And when I was in there getting a shave, real nice shave, I said the word, and she put the blade up to my neck. Yeah, it was a bad word I said there, yeah. See, I didn't know, you know. And when I got back to the motor pool, I was ready to kill him because I said, you know, He's telling me them words, and then this girl almost slit my throat. So, but
Were you functioning as a religious in the military?
no. No, what happened there was because when I was over there, I decided I better go to confession. I hadn't been in the church for a long time. And, being over in Korea, so far away from home, I figured, you know what? I think I better make amends with God. So I went to confession, and I went to church that afternoon, but you know what? I was out in the sun drinking beer all day. And I received communion and came back to my seat, and as we were leaving the church, things started looking like all kinds of crazy, dark, and before I knew it, I was on the ground. I had passed out. And I could hear the people going, is he dead? Is he dead? What's wrong with him? I could hear him, but I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. So I finally came out of it, and that was my church days for a while until I met Mammy Yoakum over there, little Rosa. And she was a good, devout Catholic. And she wanted me to, we were going to get married in the church. And of course, I couldn't do a mass. I could not do a mass because it's too long, And so what I did is I went to church and I would sit in the back and make sure there was a door. Because I'd get nervous, And then for the first couple of weeks I'd do that. And then I'd move down to the next bench. I'd make sure the door. And down to the next end. Always had to sit on the end. Until the same thing this day. I still have to be on the end of a pew so that I can get up and get out if I had to. Of course, up there, I can't get out. Now, there's a door there if I had to, yeah, but I'm pretty good with that now. Now I'm pretty good, but yeah. But Monsignor Sharkey said, why don't you want a mass? I can't. 20 minutes is it, tops. I can't do it. And if you would have seen my wedding pictures, the fright on my face as we were walking out of the church, was unbelievable. And Monsignor Sharkey, that was who married us, we had to go to meetings with him, and he'd say, you sure you want to get married? You got TV dinners, and, Rose will make TV dinners for you. You sure? You want to stay home with your mother? She makes nice spaghetti and meatballs. He was, I don't know. But we finally got married in 1972, June of 1972, and June 10th. And the first night she made dinner, she made baked macaroni and tomatoes, stewed tomatoes. Yeah, stewed tomatoes. Now, I'm looking at it saying, is this all there is? Because my mom, when she made dinner, she made meat, she made macaroni, she made everything, even orange salad, and she made it all. And Rose comes with baked macaroni, tomato. I said, oh my goodness, huh? All right, it was a Friday and I couldn't eat meat, yeah. I didn't remember that, see? That's why I have her here tonight, see? She keep me up to date. But no, yeah, but now she's a good cook. In fact, tonight we had meatloaf and mashed potatoes and peas. Dog likes peas. I was giving the dogs peas, But anyway, yeah. But she's a good cook now. She cooks, and she before my mother passed away, she got to learn how to do my mom's spaghetti sauce, because for me, a spaghetti sauce, I don't like anything in it. My sister, she puts everything in it. She puts onions, she puts this, she puts that. But Rose, you don't put nothing, do you? Not all that, no. So, I mean, it's, yeah, my sister was a nut. I mean, she still is a nut. I have two sisters, twins. They were triplets, but the little one was in the middle. Mary, that's what my father called her. And she was born dead, because there was no nutrients going to her. These two little piggies here were eating it all up. So I have one sister lives in New Jersey, and she's got COPD. So she's, because she smoked, well, my sister, the barber, was crazy. After they took me out in an ambulance, I was a smoker too. And I was going to work this one night, and I got into the truck. I was getting ready to go, and I couldn't breathe. So I walked back in the house, and I fell on the steps. So they came with an ambulance. They put oxygen, and off I went to Lourdes, and they healed me up, but I didn't smoke no more. That's a terrible thing to have to go in an ambulance. And so I just stopped smoking. That was 2002. Then I stopped smoking. Plus, while I was in the hospital, they saw that I was bleeding, and here I had a cancerous tumor in my intestine. So they took that out, and luckily, through the grace of God, I didn't need any kind of chemo or anything like that. So that was good. And then my other sister, Joyce, she lives on the Eastern Shore. And of course, she's battling now. She's got a bad knee, just like I had. And her husband's got cancer in his hip or something. They found because he had cancer and it must have spread. He had it in his prostate, and it must have spread to the bone. So they're trying, with radiation and stuff And I got cancer in my prostate now, but it's so minute. And every 5 years I have to get like a biopsy. They take 18 spears or whatever from and so far they can't find it. So it's in there, I guess, but the doctor says you won't die from that. So I believe him. Anything else on the questions? Hi out there. Nope. No, I only went to, well, Rose could be ordained too, because she went to every class with us for the diaconate.
So you were married when you decided to do the...
Yeah, let's see. When did I start the diaconate, Rose? Oh, it was 10 years because we adopted Matthew. That's when I was in the school. Yeah, and I was ordained, right after we got him. Yeah, and he went to school with us. Had a big mouth. My son had a big mouth. Big mouth. He cried all the time, especially when I was giving homilies. Loved to scream and cry. And Monsignor Veloso said, because Rose got up and she was going to take him out of the room, and Monsignor said, "Where are you going, Rose?" "I got to take him out. He's trying to..." No. Your husband's got to learn how to talk over the cries. You just, And Matthew could cry. Yes, he could. Because he had some stuff wrong with him too, and he had things on his feet, and at night he would go. Yeah, they were like cast on his feet, and he would click them at night. Yeah, click them. Yeah, and he had different things, And I was telling the people today, you guys weren't here, but I said Matthew and my daughter. One Easter, I went out because we had an Easter baskets. We were ready. I went and there was no Easter baskets on the table. Saying, now where could they be? So I went into my daughter's room, and there they are sitting in the crib, both of them, eat candy, chocolate all over their face. Unbelievable. And then he took a marker that doesn't erase, and he wrote all over my leather yellow couch. I mean, he wrote permanent, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. But it's just the way he was. Good memories, though. Good memories. Yeah. So anyway, we went to school for 2 years. That's all. And then I went 3 years because I had to wait. But yeah, 2 years. Now it's 6 years. If you want to be a deacon, it's like 6 years. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I understand now you have to be like, maybe it's 55 or something. Yeah, or 57, something like that. Because you know what? Most of my class, the guys were like 70 and 80. So, well, that's why there's none of them left now. I'm the last of the Mohicans of the class from 80. I don't think there's one left. So, Yeah, so now they're bringing in the younger ones a little bit, younger, they'll last a little bit, That's it. Yeah, more? Any questions? No? Okay, very good. Let's bow our heads and pray for God's blessing. Father, I hope that this little meeting of ours helped the people. And I hope that they all get home safely tonight. I ask this in your name, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And may God bless you all. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yes, thanks. It was a good little meeting. I thought I was only going to be here talking to myself. Oh, good.